I will go ahead and call to order this meeting of the City of Bloomington Plan Commission for July 11th, 2022. Since we're getting a late start, I'll try to be very quick with the formalities here. We have 3 petitions tonight that have been continued to the August 15th meeting. That's PUD DP 2421, petitioner Robert V. Shaw, property at North Prow Road, 3500 block of North Hackberry Street. Also SP 2422, Cutters Kirkwood 123 LLC, that's the property at 115 East Kirkwood Avenue. And SP 06-22, Strasser Construction Inc., property at 3000 and 3070 South Walnut Street. So those 3 petitions have been continued to the August 15th meeting. So if you're here to speak to one of those or hear about one of those, you'll have to come back next month. We do have 3 petitions that we will hear tonight. SP 1922, People's State Bank, property at 202 West 17th Street. SP 2522, Strasser Construction Co. Inc., the property at 409 East Kirkwood Avenue. And DP 2722, the Redevelopment Commission, the City of Bloomington, and this is 19 lots and right-of-way south of 2nd Street, west of Rogers Street, north of 1st Street, and east of Morton Street. So those are the 3 petitions that we will hear tonight. Before we get to that, we need to do just our typical housekeeping, but let's start with calling the roll. Would you go ahead and call the roll, please?
Ballard? Here. Burrell? Here. Seaboard?
Here.
Cockrum?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
St. John? Here. And Whistler?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have a quorum. First up, we have minutes to be approved. We have minutes from the June 13th, 2022 meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve those minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I think we need to call roll on everything here since we are hybrid, but let's go ahead and call the roll on the approval of the June 13th minutes.
Yes.
Cockrum?
Yes.
Ballard?
Yes.
Let's see. Smith?
Yes.
St. John?
Yes.
Whistler?
Yes.
And then yes. Thank you.
All right, the minutes are approved. We will move on now to reports, resolutions, and communications. Do we have any reports from staff tonight?
Jackie Scanlon, Development Services Manager. We do not have any reports. Thank you.
All right, keep it moving. Any reports or communications from commissioners? All right, seeing none, then we'll move right into our petitions. Our first petition is SP 1922, People's State Bank, property at 202 West 17th Street. This is a request for major site plan approval to allow construction of a 34,200 gross square foot commercial building with a bank drive-through and associated parking in the mixed-use corridor zoning district. And I believe we have Gabriel Holbrow here to present. Welcome.
Feedback, so I want to share my screen. Okay, let's move along. So this is 202 West 17th Street, bordered by College, 17 and Woodlawn Avenue. Approximately 76 16,500 square feet, 1.75 acres. The current zoning is mixed-use corridor, MC. The comprehensive plan designation is urban corridor. The existing use is a bank branch in a former Pepsi bottling plant. The proposed land uses are financial institution, office, including office and a drive-through. The surrounding uses to the north, northwest is multifamily dwellings, apartments there. Northeast along College is office. To the south, there's a vehicle fuel station, vehicle repair, as well as single-family dwellings. To the east is Miller Showers Park, across College Avenue there. And then to the west, across Woodlawn Avenue, are single-family dwellings. The petitioner is requesting major site plan approval to redevelop the site as a corporate office and local bank branch for People's State Bank. So it will include one 4-story building of approximately 34,200 gross square feet, a 3-lane bank drive-through that passes under levels 2 and 3 of the building, and 59 on-street parking spaces in a combination of the surface parking lot and a small garage. The petitioner is not seeking any affordable housing or sustainable development incentives. Major site plan approval is required for developments that contain more than 15,000 gross square feet of floor area. This proposed site plan will create 34,200, so it's subject to major site plan review. It's being reviewed under the UDO at the time of filing in May, so that doesn't include any amendments that were finally adopted in June this year, although those changes don't affect the proposal in any significant way. This is the site plan. We can see College Avenue to the east on the right-hand side of the screen, 17th Street to the south, Woodburn Avenue to the west. There's one building marked there in the hashed gray near the corner of 17th and College at the southeast of the site. The drive-through has one-way traffic from the north, under the upper levels of the building, and out and around to internal drives. There are parking areas to the north and to the west of the building. This is a rendering of the building from 17th and College viewed from the southeast. The entrance at this corner leads into a lower level designated on the submitted floor plans as the basement, with stair access and elevator access to level 1 above. The lower level is fully exposed at ground level along College and underground on 3 other sides. Level 1 above that is directly accessed from an entrance on the north side of the building and contains the local bank branch. Levels 2 and 3 above contain office space for the bank. Quickly going over the setbacks, the MC zoning district requires a minimum 15-foot front setback. The property has 3 frontages and 3 minimum front setbacks. For 17th Street along the south, the proposed right-of-way width in the transportation plan is 86 feet. And front setback is measured from the proposed right-of-way in the transportation plan, not from the existing right-of-way. On the proposed site plan, the line labeled, this is a zoom in, labeled maximum R/W is shown 43 feet from the surveyed center line of 17th Street, and the building is set back 15 feet from that line. So it is compliant with the greater distance of the proposed right-of-way width in the transportation plan. The building is set back a little more than 15 feet from the right-of-way of College Avenue to the east, and it's set back much more than 15 feet from the right-of-way of Woodburn to the west. There's a side setback of 7 feet that applies to the northern boundary of the property. It's considered a side setback because the east and west sides are public streets, and the building is set back much more than 7 feet from that property line. There's a parking setback. The MC zoning district requires a minimum front parking setback of 20 feet behind the primary structure's front building wall. And this setback applies to from College, from 17th, and from Woodburn. It is clearly, the parking is clearly set at least 20 feet behind the building from 17th and from College. From Woodburn, there is parking that is between the building and Woodburn, but this was allowed. The proposal was granted a variance by the Board of Zoning Appeals on June 23rd last month as V1922 as part of a package of 3 variances, so this is compliant with the variance. The frontage, going on to sidewalks and tree plots and the street frontage, the frontage and right-of-way along 17th Street has been laid out to coordinate with the city's installation of a new 10-foot wide multi-use path along the north side of 17th. College Avenue is shown with an 8-foot tree plot and 10-foot sidewalk as required for the general urban street typology in the transportation plan. Likewise, Woodburn is compliant with the neighborhood residential street typology in the plan, a 5-foot tree plot and a 6-foot sidewalk. Because the sidewalk along Woodburn is provided outside the public right-of-way and on private property, a pedestrian easement for the sidewalk will need to be recorded before final occupancy. You'll also notice that the site plan shows pull-in angled on-street parking on Woodburn Avenue. Because it's proposed for the public right-of-way and not on the petitioner's property, these are outside the scope of the major site plan review and approval. But the configuration of the on-street parking in the public right-of-way is subject to review and approval by the engineering department and possibly the Board of Public Works, since they are the keepers of the city's right-of-way, and it may require a code amendment by the city council. Location of drives. For non-residential uses located on corner lots, such as this location, the UDO requires drive access to be located on the street assigned the lower functional classification. We have College as a primary arterial, 17th is a secondary arterial. Woodburn is not classified, which is otherwise known as a local street. So because Woodburn Avenue is the lowest classified street, the UDO requires that all drive access be on Woodburn. However, as part of the package of variances that were granted last month, this site plan is allowed to have drive access on both Woodburn Avenue and 17th Street. So there are 2 entrances to the parking area. Both are 2-way, allow entrance and exit, one off of Woodburn Avenue, which you can see there on the left of the screen, and one off of 17th, which you can see there at the bottom of the screen. Generally, the UDO requires driveways on arterial or collector streets like 17th Street to be separated a minimum of 150 feet from street intersections. The driveway on 17th is more than that minimum required 150 feet from the intersection with College, but it's only approximately 88 feet from the intersection with Woodburn Avenue. Where the minimum distance separation cannot be met, the UDO authorizes the city engineer to approve the driveway location. The city engineer, one of your fellow Plan Commission members, has noted no objections to the driveway location, but has stated that if crash patterns arise due to the driveway, the city may pursue access management improvements within the public right-of-way in the future. The other variance that was granted was to allow the driveway off of 17th Street, small portions of it to be greater than the maximum allowed 24 feet in width. So the driveway design on 17th shown here was approved by a variance. The 3-lane drive-through passes under levels 2 and 3 of the building with one-way traffic from north to south. Here's a view from the northwest, approximately from Woodburn Avenue, showing the entrance to the drive-through from the north. And here's a view from the south, from 17th Street, showing the exit from the drive-through. Vehicles come out, follow the drive as it bends to the left, to the west. Then the vehicles can exit the site using the drive on 17th, or can continue on interior drives through the site, or exit on Woodburn. The UDO requires stacking space for a minimum of 2 vehicles per service lane for financial institution drive-throughs. This is supplementary materials provided with the site plan demonstrating adequate stacking space for more than 6 vehicles for the 3 proposed drive-through bays. The use-specific standards for drive-through uses allow up to 3 drive-through bays, and the proposed site plan shows 3. The lane for the westernmost drive-through bay is 22 feet wide, wider than the other 2, to allow vehicles to bypass the drive-through bays if the driver entered by mistake or changed their mind. Parking for 34,200 gross square feet of financial institution use, a maximum of 136 parking spaces is allowed. The proposed site plan provides considerably less than that, 59 parking spaces on the property, including 53 spaces in the surface parking lot and 6 spaces in a garage accessed from the west side of the building. If we back up a moment, this is the view from the northwest, and you can see there on the west side of the building, entrance to the garage spaces there. So they're just pull in directly. They're on the right-hand side of the image. The proposed site plan also shows 14 on-street parking spaces on Woodburn in the public right-of-way, but again, these are outside the scope of the major site plan review. The plan shows 3 accessible parking spaces in the parking area nearest the main entrance on the north side of the building, as well as a dedicated space for an armored truck parking. It provides 3 electric vehicle parking spaces as required to the northwest of the main entrance on the north side of the building. Those are marked with the EV. To manage stormwater drainage from the parking lot, the proposed site plan directs drainage into landscape islands and eventually into 2 rain garden features in the southwest portion of the site. The stormwater management features and practices for the parking areas are subject to the approval of the City of Bloomington Utilities prior to the issuance of a grading permit. CBU has not yet granted approval for the parking lot stormwater management for this site, but for the purposes of major site plan review, this site plan demonstrates that there is adequate area and layout to accommodate any additional features that CBU may require without substantial modification to the site plan. Bicycle parking, the UDO requires bicycle parking for at least 6 bicycles here. The proposed site plan provides bicycle parking for 8 bicycles in 2 separate structures. There on the lower right corner near the entrance at 17th and College, there's a marking for a small roofed bicycle structure over 2 hoops. Each hoop parks 2 bicycles, so that's 4 bicycle parking spaces, and a similar structure on the north side of the building near the entrance there with parking for 4 bicycles. Going on to building design, this is an elevation from the east from College Avenue. The entrance in the lower right, lower left is the entrance at near the corner of College and 17th. There's also, you can see the canopy for the entrance on the north, on the right-hand side of the screen, up on the level above. The proposed building is finished with masonry, brick, cast stone, and transparent glass as primary exterior finish materials, along with metal panels, wood, and spandrel glass panels as secondary exterior finish materials. This is the north elevation from the parking lot on the north side. You can see the entrance door there in the middle and the entrance to the drive-through. To visually break up the facades and break up monotony, the proposed design includes changes in building height, regular patterns of transparent glass, wall elevation projections and recesses, differences in roof lines, differences in building footprint, and differences in the number of floors for different portions of the building. Looking at the west elevation, the proposed design shows patterns of at least 1 primary color and 1 secondary color that repeat in horizontal and vertical patterns across all the facades. This is a view from the south elevation from 17th Street. Going on, the proposed design shows flat roofs consisting of a mixture of roofing behind cast stone parapets and overhanging metal caps. The design includes transparent first-story windows on all of the facades. And as you can see, the proposed design incorporates similar materials, similar finished materials and architectural details on all the facades, meeting the UDO's requirement for 360-degree architecture. The primary pedestrian entry, the UDO considers that to be the entry on the facade facing the higher classified street. So for this petition, the primary pedestrian entry is required on College Avenue. The proposed building design provides a pedestrian entry at the southwest corner with doors facing both College and 17th. And the portion facing College includes 2 of the required architectural elements. A pilaster or facade module that projects from the face of the wall. You can see it there to the right of the entrance area off of College. Helps to highlight the entry. And a prominent building address, building name, and lighting. The remaining eligible architectural elements, one of which must be added, are public art display, raised cornice, entry parapet, or buttressed or arch entry. A condition has been added requiring that a third architectural element be provided at this primary pedestrian entry on College Avenue prior to a building permit being issued. Landscaping, the minimum impervious surface coverage in the MC zoning district is 60%, and the minimum landscape area is 40%. The petitioner has stated that the proposal contains 59.4% impervious surface and 40.6% landscape area, meeting those requirements. It's compliant with street trees along College Avenue. It appears to be 1 tree short along 17th Street, and additionally, one of the trees shown on the proposed landscape plan is in the location of a water meter pit and water line shown on the utility plan, so this tree will have to be moved. The frontage along Woodburn Avenue requires 7 trees. 7 are provided. They are autumn flame red maples, which the UDO classifies as a medium street tree. Since there are no overhead wires or other constraints, the UDO require large trees at this location, so there needs to be a switch for, can be a larger variety of red maple or another species. The condition has been added that a landscape plan revolving these issues shall be submitted and approved prior to issuance of a grading permit. There's a requirement for a 15-foot buffer yard where along the property line with the apartments, the multi-family dwellings to the northwest, there along Woodburn Avenue. A 15-foot wide buffer yard is provided, planted with 6 deciduous black maple trees and 12 evergreen Canadian hemlocks in compliance with the UDO. The proposed site plan is compliant with parking lot landscaping standards as well as interior landscaping standards. In conclusion, the petition meets all the requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance. The development of the property will provide public improvement for pedestrian circulation by providing a new sidewalk and tree plot along Woodburn Street, rebuilding the sidewalk along College Avenue, accommodating the new multi-use path on 17th Street, and the development will allow substantial private improvements to the entire property. The Planning and Transportation Department recommends that the Plan Commission adopt the proposed findings and approve SP 1922 with the following conditions. That the petitioner must receive a grading permit before any land disturbance activity. Number 2, the petitioner must record a pedestrian access easement for the sidewalk along Woodburn Avenue prior to issuance of final occupancy. Number 3, the stormwater management of drainage from the parking lot must be approved by the City of Bloomington Utilities prior to issuance of a grading permit. Number 4, the revised building design for the pedestrian entry on the College Avenue facade that incorporates at least 3 of the architectural elements required by UDO section 20.04.070D2H3 must be submitted and approved prior to issuance of a building permit. Number 5, a landscape plan that meets all UDO requirements, including providing at least 8 street trees along 17th Street and all street tree species chosen from the UDO list of permitted large street trees must be submitted and approved prior to issuance of a grading permit. Number 6, a lighting and photometric plan that meets all UDO requirements must be submitted and approved prior to issuance of a grading permit. And number 7, this site plan review does not approve signage. A sign permit will need to be applied for. Thank you.
Is there a representative of the petitioner who would like to add to the presentation this evening? Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Tim Kober with Studio 3 Design, representing the petitioner, People's State Bank. I'm here tonight with the president of the bank, Johnny Lindsay, and my colleagues, Erica Zhang and Steve Brehab. We're excited to bring the project forward. It's for your basic consideration and continuing People's State Bank's kind of long-term relationship here in Bloomington and with the Bloomington community. The bank itself is moving their corporate offices to Bloomington, and several financial departments from Ellettsville and the surrounding area to make Bloomington their corporate office headquarters. As mentioned by staff, we're proposing a 34,200 square foot corporate headquarters building. The main level will be dedicated to a bank. It also has community room within that level with the bank. The upper levels will be dedicated to corporate office space, and the lower level to more training facilities as well as amenity space for the bank.
For a second. You said they can't hear you, but I don't know why.
There you go.
Sorry. That's so frustrating.
Sorry, everyone, bear with us as we're
No problem.
continuing to fight through some technical difficulties here.
I'm gonna see if mine will pick you up.
It is nice to be back in person again.
Is it?
It is.
It is good to
It
see you.
is.
Okay, let's try that. Okay, go ahead and just try it again, Tim, and then we'll see.
Testing,
Yeah, she can.
working?
Yeah.
All right, we'll pick that back up. Basically, as you're aware, the site is currently the vacant Pepsi bottling plant. It is 100% covered today with asphalt or building. A lot of that parking and drives extend and create pretty large openings onto College Avenue as well as 17th Street with back-out parking occurring onto 17th. This new development will not only clean up the existing site and provide an attractive new gateway building, but will also convert 40% of the site back to grass, landscaping, and natural features, incorporate the new city trail along 17th Street, remove access off of College, and limit access to a single point off of 17th Street. So it's a pretty dramatic change to the corner that I hope you all will enjoy. As noted, variances have been approved to allow the access off 17th as well as the parking between Woodburn and the building itself. The parking off of Woodburn Street that is in the city right-of-way, we'll go through that process, but basically parking has existed there as long as the Pepsi building's been there. We're going to go through and clean that up, define the parking, provide sidewalk and landscape strip along that whole length. Additionally, as mentioned earlier, we've worked with city engineering to improve and develop the new pedestrian trail down 17th Street and limited that to one point of kind of cross access between the public and vehicular access. And we've taken away all of the entry points along College Avenue and improved that with a 10-foot walkway and all the landscaping. So it'll be a very different look coming in. We're well under the thresholds for parking on site, the 59 on site compared to 136 that would be allowed by code. Of course, you have to factor in the pervious and impervious area with that, but basically we're parking 43% of what we could put on that site. We'll basically work with staff and meet any of the comments or concerns of CBU as they finalize their reports on the project and the drainage. The project meets basically all of the UDO requirements for design, height, modulation, character, and material usage. Staff has noted the need to modify or adjust the building entrances to pick up a third element. We will work with staff to basically resolve that and get that cleaned up, whether that's a piece of artwork or a modification to the design of the canopy itself. We'll get all that done before the project moves forward into permitting. As Gabriel mentioned, we are not seeking any incentives or requesting any modifications be allowed by this commission. We are, however, looking to develop the building, which I would call green-friendly, with examples such as, you know, the big one, converting 40% of the site to landscape zones, including several rain gardens for basically collecting the drainage from the site and filtering that. Designing of a cool roof system and using light-covered patio pavers on the exterior outdoor areas for the building to help reduce that heat island effect. We're incorporating zones of green roof with the outdoor patio space, using kind of a light gray tinted solar insulated glazing to help reduce heat gain with the building, but also providing pretty expansive areas of glass just so you have great natural light within the facility and reduce the need for artificial lighting. The incorporation of exterior materials, basically picking a lot of the products that are available within a 500-mile radius. Interior materials that contain a high recycled value. Similar examples would probably be carpeting, ceiling tiles, and such. The use of 100% LED lighting throughout the facility. Additional bike parking, locker rooms, and shower facilities. So if you do ride your bike in, you have a place to change and shower. Recycling on site, and as I had mentioned, basically really focusing on allowing natural light into the building. I just am a huge advocate of the health benefits of a well-lit interior space. So all that being said, we obviously agree with staff's support and their recommendation for approval and have no objections to the conditions they've listed. And so with that, we are available for any questions you may have and look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from commissioners for staff or for the petitioner? Commissioner Smith, go ahead.
Thank you, President Whistler. I was just going to ask, how many people are going to be working there? It looks like a great project. How many people will be there?
Sorry, Tim, let me cut in real fast. Reminder to the plan commissioners, when you ask a question, please unmute yourself on the Zoom first so that they can hear you. I was going to remind you to do that. Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
So right now, the target is 50 to 75. There's basically 50 as that early starting point, and then growth is built in to expand that.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Cover. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Seaborn, go ahead.
I think you already answered one of my questions in your presentation about the on-street parking, so just appreciated that note. One question I have, just knowing there's ongoing coordination with the city's project on 17th Street, is just big picture what the project's construction schedule is, what you're looking for going, when we might start seeing the site redevelop.
So that is all under discussion right now. Obviously, we've been kind of going through the steps here to get through the different commissions. We are going through the process of budgeting the building right now prior to construction documents to see where the current market is sitting. It's, as I'm sure you're all aware, materials, getting supplies has been, every week there's a new challenge. Last week it was concrete. So we're looking at that, and that will help define basically if we get started this year with construction or if it winds up having to be pushed off until the following spring in order to just kind of ride the tide of what's going on today.
Any additional questions from commissioners? No? All right. Seeing none, we will then go to public comment. If you are here in the chambers, just step up to the podium, state your name for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak. If you're joining us remotely and would like to make comment, look at the bottom of your Zoom screen for a button that says Reactions. Click on that Reactions button, and then you should see an option to raise hand. If we see your raised hand, we will recognize you. If you have trouble with that, you can also just send a chat message to Ms. Scanlon, and we'll try to recognize you that way as well. Is there any public comment on SP 1922? None in the chat. All right, last call for public comment on SP 1922. All right, we are then back to the commission for any final comments or a motion. If you'd like to make a motion, we do have the staff's recommendation on the screen here to assist you. Commissioner Cochran.
Well, first, I'd like to make a comment. So I think the project's great, and and thank you for Peoples for making this kind of investment in Bloomington. An investment that I think started with the Showers Park with Mayor Fernandez. And, the north side of town just has not seen, we're starting to see more investments and more developments on the north side, but it's been slow to develop compared to the rest of the downtown area. So I think this is a huge step. It's a huge commitment by your company to bring the headquarters here. We've known Peoples for many years, but this is a big investment. So thank you for that. With that, I would like to make a motion to approve with how many, is it 7? With the 7 conditions. And that's for,
I would second that.
Just to clarify, the motion is to adopt the proposed findings and approve SP 1922 with the 7 conditions as listed in the packet?
correct.
All right, and your second stands for that. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any final comments before we call the roll? Commissioner St. John, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to echo Commissioner Cochran's comments. It is a huge improvement for that area, so thank you so much to People's State Bank and to Mr. Cover and Studio 3 Design. It's really fantastic to see, and all the things that you've addressed, and it will just make a really big difference to accelerate that development and beautification of the north side, so thank you.
Any other final comments? Commissioner Smith? Yeah.
Sure, I can't tell if I'm echoing or not, but I just want to say it is a great project and it's a great thing to bring to the city, your corporate headquarters, so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. If there's no more comments, last call for comments. Okay, let's call the roll on the motion to approve SP 1922.
Okay. Ballard?
Yes.
Burrell? Yes. Whistler?
Yes.
St. John?
Yes.
Cockrum?
Yes.
Seaboard?
Yes.
And Smith?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. We are now on to our next petition, SP 25-22. The petitioner is Strasser Construction Co., Inc. This is a petition for property at 409 East Kirkwood Avenue. Request for major site plan approval. And I believe the case manager, Karina Pazos, is here to present. Take it away, Karina.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
You might want to, keep that microphone close. It's a little
Yeah.
hard for us to hear over here with what we're dealing with.
No. Oh. All right, so this site is located at 409 East Kirkwood Avenue and currently contains the Village Deli restaurant. It's zoned mixed use downtown with University Village downtown character overlay. Its surrounding uses include restaurants, a place of worship, retail, and multifamily. And the site itself is bounded by alleys along the north and east sides. So the petitioner is requesting a major site plan approval to construct a 4-story building with 3 floors of residential units over a ground floor containing commercial space and a parking garage in the mixed-use downtown University Village zoning district. The upper floors will consist of 25 dwelling units for a total of 29 beds. And major site plan approval is required for developments that meet the minor site plan review thresholds, but are determined by the Planning and Transportation Director to require major site plan review due to unusual size, complexity, or the creation of potential significant unanticipated impacts on the city or surrounding neighborhoods. The proposal involves demolishing the existing building and building a new 4-story structure that will cover the entire lot. The Village Deli restaurant will be incorporated in the ground floor, and the remainder of the ground floor will include 12 vehicle parking spaces, bicycle parking, storage, and access to the upper levels. So this is the facade facing Kirkwood. And this is what it would look like on the north, facing the alley. And the east elevation along the eastern alley. West elevation, which will partly be covered by the adjacent building. And so the proposed site plan demonstrates compliance with the setbacks. The proposed height is 50 feet 10 inches and meets the maximum height requirement using the proposed incentives. And the proposal meets the impervious surface coverage and landscape requirements. And the transportation plan calls for a preferred width of 6 to 8 feet of frontage zone to accommodate for a sidewalk cafe, a minimum 10-foot wide sidewalk, and a minimum 5-foot wide tree plot. The frontage zone is intended to accommodate for door swings, awnings, cafe seating, retail signage displays, building projections, and landscape areas. The frontage zone may be accommodated within the building setback requirement, and this proposal does include an 8-foot wide frontage zone that is partly within the front building setback. It also includes a 5-foot wide tree plot and a 7.8-foot wide sidewalk. The frontage zone will need to be reduced or moved onto the property so that more space can be dedicated to the sidewalk to meet the minimum 10-foot width. And the site provides 12 vehicle parking spaces and proposes to use adjustments to the minimum parking requirements. Because, so the minimum parking spaces here is actually 21.5. But so the petitioner has proposed adjustments to the parking, and those include using proximity to transit, which would reduce the required number by 15% for a total reduction of 3.2 spaces. An on-street parking reduction for a total reduction of two spaces, and a parking study which was performed by Desmond Design Management and determined that the 12 vehicle parking spaces included in the proposal will be sufficient for this proposal, or for the site. And the proposal includes 6 bicycle racks for a total of 12 bicycle parking spaces. All proposed bicycle facilities are Class 2 and are located in the parking garage, but at least 2 Class 1 bicycle parking spaces must be provided per the UDO. And the petitioner plans to incorporate this facility in the parking garage as well. There is an existing street tree with a tree grate that may be subject to replacement and will be determined at grading permit review. The site has 66 feet of property that is adjacent to Kirkwood Avenue. So rounding up, that means that 2 street trees are actually required for the site. And then the proposal includes a transformer that's located up to the property lines in the northeast corner of the site. The petitioner has expressed concern that there is not enough space to provide screening along the sides facing the alleys. And so the petitioner must file for a variance from the screening requirements for that. And then for outdoor lighting, a canopy is incorporated over the lighting fixtures on the ground floor, which meets the general standards for the outdoor lighting. It is unclear if the lighting fixtures on the facade on the upper floors are lighting upward, and so the petitioner will need to provide more information on that. So the sustainable development incentives that are proposed are light-colored hardscaping, covered parking, cool roof, and solar energy. And in conclusion, this petition meets the requirements of the UDO, except for those that have been included as conditions of approval, and will add 25 new dwelling units near other high-density uses and amenities. The development will provide housing in an area where housing is common and is immediately adjacent to the downtown. The scale of this development is appropriate for the neighborhood, and given other recent developments and proximity to the downtown, this is an ideal location for this type of land use. So the Planning and Transportation Department recommends that the Plan Commission adopt the proposed findings and approve SP-25-22 with the following conditions. 1, the petitioner must obtain a grading permit before earth moving. 2, the petitioner must revise the frontage zone such that more space can be dedicated to the sidewalk to meet the minimum 10-foot width per the transportation plan. Number 3, the petitioner will provide at least 2 Class 1 bicycle parking facilities on the site. Number 4, replacement of the street tree and tree grate subject to approval by the transportation traffic engineer, as well as the additional tree may be required and will be determined at grading permit review. 5, the petitioner must file for a variance from the ground-mounted mechanical equipment screening standards. 6, the petitioner must provide information about the outdoor lighting fixtures. 7, the site plan review does not approve signage, so a sign permit will need to be applied for. 8, inspection and approval of the proposed solar installation for the incentives is required before temporary occupancy recommendation will be issued. And then 9, which was recently added as a condition here, is that the petitioner will need to provide more information about proposed materials on the west and north elevations or facades of the building to ensure that the proposed materials are not prohibited facade materials for the Kirkwood corridor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a representative of the petitioner who would like to add to the presentation?
Hi, Ryan Strasser with Strasser Construction. I'm here on behalf of Bob and Carrie Costello, who's the owners of the property, along with other design team members here tonight. And I just want to start by saying thanks for hearing our petition. I don't have a lot to add to the presentation that was already given. Just say that I think the project adds good density in an area that can handle the density. We're going with the sustainable incentives to try to bring some more solar and just green development to the area. So we're here to answer whatever questions you have about the petition. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions from commissioners, either for staff or for the petitioner? Commissioner Cochran.
Excuse me. Okay. Oh. Let me make sure I'm not on mute. So the entrance to the garages is in the alleyway, correct? Will they get access off of Grant or 6th Street or both? It's pretty tight back in there, so can you kind of describe what's going to happen?
Yeah, the garage access is off the alley in the back, and more than likely the best, whenever you kind of look back through there, the best access ends up being off of Grant, heading kind of what would that be, to the east, right there. That is going to be your best way in and out. We also developed the Bloomington Bagel building and that property, I guess 5 years ago now. And so that alley really does become kind of a good hub going that way. You also, when going east, can turn left and go back out to 6th Street and kind of dead end to the Poplars garage right there. So if there's any deliveries that are kind of happening behind Nick's and those, there's still kind of a secondary means of egress out back there.
Commissioner St. John.
Thank you. It's an exciting project. I just want to follow up on Commissioner Cochran's question. So that makes sense. I guess I'm wondering about the width of the alley. I'm trying to remember, like, can two cars drive down that alley? Or it's a single car. So what's the plan on that, people going in and out?
Well, I guess it is a single car alley, and I think just like any alley in town, I think you're going to have to come out and deal with if there's delivery vehicles blocking an alley down the road. And that's what, right now, you can go either east or west. So I think whenever you come to pull out, you're going to have to make a decision based on if other traffic's blocking one way or another. It's kind of pretty much the same situation in a lot of alleys around town, but that is basically the only way to get in or out of the site and be able to make the turn into the building.
Okay, and so that makes sense. It seems really, I don't know what you'd do if you were trying to get out and there's a truck on each side of you in the alley. And planning's okay with that, I guess. I mean, I'm not trying to create a problem where there isn't one. I was just really more curious what that looks like.
Sure, I think it's a good question. Jackie Scanlon, Development Services Manager. I mean, for us, from a planning perspective, having the vehicular access on the alley is preferable than adding a cut on Kirkwood, especially with an eye toward what is Kirkwood going to be in, you know, however many years. But yes, that is part of kind of urban living or urban working, is having to take those things into consideration when you look at these apartments or whatever, that you will have to navigate that. We do have it in some other areas of town, and we'll probably be seeing more of it, I think.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Strasser, for that. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Seabour.
Sticking with alley questions, just reviewing the site plan and the alley, and a few doors from the project open into the alley, further, I assume further constraining it. I'm just curious if you could explain the doors, and if there's any chance that they can swing another way or be recessed slightly, or just, I don't know if if there's regulations that require doors to be closed.
Yeah, one of the doors on the backside right now is showed to the trash location, and basically that would only be open whenever trash is being picked up and everything. We've actually, after meeting with Duke Energy on site last week and transformer discussions, everything, we're talking about that possibly opening into the building, basically right where you pull into the garage. So there is a possibility that'll change. The other door over on the east alley, that is an emergency egress door that would only be used in an emergency situation, would be the plan, but that is why that's on that side.
Okay, thank you. And I guess a question more for staff, and just as I was hearing things again, just better understanding our UDO requirements for bicycle parking. I think in reading it, it's really oriented just for the multifamily component of the development, not necessarily the commercial. And I guess just wanting to confirm my understanding, since it's all for the garage, so I'm assuming not for potential commercial space users.
Yes, it's required for the multifamily use, as well as commercial, sorry. Okay, yes, sorry, it is, yeah, it's required for commercial. So the calculation is 0.6 for the commercial, which rounds up to 1. And so for the, let's see, for the residential, it would be 5.8, which rounds up to 6. A total of 7. The petitioner is providing a lot more than that, but they are all Class 2 bicycle facilities.
I guess the follow-up would be, I guess that the garage is open to, it's not just for residential users then, that either employees or customers of the future business there would be able to park in the garage?
No, it is actually just for the residential tenants. I believe there is an existing bike rack in front of the building now. And
Yeah.
Ryan, maybe you could answer if that's still staying there.
Yeah, so we will continue to work with them on this. We will want some of the bicycle parking located near the actual public entrance to the commercial as well. And I do think Karina's right that there is already some located there that will anticipate it to stay, but we will require that some be there as well.
Hi, Kendall Kanoki, Smith Design Group. We do have room for some spaces in front. I think we originally showed them, and then during DRC, we kind of went back and forth as to where the best spot was. But yeah, we'll have some in the garage, and we can put some out front as well.
Any other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Burrell.
I have a question about the input frontage requirement. Does that mean the building is going to have to set back even further, or is it going to change the design of the front of the building? Is it going to change what we've seen at this time?
What we need to see on the site plan is that there's at least 10 feet of pedestrian zone width. And so the frontage zone could be adjusted, as long as the frontage zone is adjusted to meet that 10-foot width. Maybe I guess, so it could move that facade of the ground floor back, or the outdoor seating could just be reduced to meet that adjustment. But I think there's also the possibility that if the commercial space needs more outdoor seating space there, then they could seek an encroachment agreement to encroach on that 10-foot width.
Yeah, Kendall Kanoki, Smith Design Group again. Just to speak a little more to that, the 7.8 feet that I have shown currently is kind of the width of the existing pedestrian space, and code requires 10. So we can either reduce that 8 feet of seating area, which we're happy to do, the 2 feet 3 inches, or like planning staff said, maybe something can be worked out. But that's kind of the existing where the patio seating is currently. So in order to meet code, we would have to push that in 2 feet, whatever it was, 2 feet 9 inches. But the building face is also where the existing building face is, so that's kind of the reasoning for how it's shown now.
Commissioner Smith.
I have to unmute or mute, as it will. Can you talk a little bit about so the parking always perplexes me. UDO says 17 and you're proposing 12. based on certain factors. Will you can you walk me through that a little bit? Like, why we believe the rationale for 12 is solid? Thank you.
Yeah, so one of the first things we did was we reached out to Desmond Parking Consulting, who they've worked with the city of Bloomington in the past on to make sure that kind of our thoughts weren't out of line. And basically, I think a big part of our reasoning is the unit type and everything that we're designing here is more geared towards like a grad student thing, and it's in nature that we think that it's going to take less vehicle parking because they're going to be more reliant on going to campus, bicycle parking, using public transportation such as bike to a third-party shared parking type site, something of that nature. So that's why we reached out to Desmond to get their thoughts on it as well, and they agreed that based on the market for and like demographic for this building, that it just wouldn't require the parking that the UDO would if, say, we had a building that was full of 3-bed or 4-bedroom apartments, student housing where we need half a parking spot per bed, things like that. So that was the rationale.
Sure. Parking well, I just forgot what I had this point. I thought, well, so thank you very much.
Yeah. One of the other things I'll add too that I think was included in there is since we did do the Bloomington Bagel project back in 2017, when we did that, we went and received a waiver for no parking on site. So we reached out to the owner of that project and said, how is that went as far as leasing and everything else? And she confirmed that it has not having any parking on site has not been detrimental. So that also kind of went with our idea of reduced parking is able there.
Oh, I remember my question now, if it's okay. So if you have 12 spaces, how will they be allocated?
Well, part of that will be up to the developer, and I guess they do it different, but I think most of them right now, it's on a first come, first served during rental of basically renting those parking spots to the different tenants. So it ends up being an assigned parking, not just a free for all.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any additional questions from commissioners? I have one multi-part question for the petitioner. Assuming this means the current structure is being demolished completely and we're starting from the ground up, do you have any sense of the timeline for demolition and construction? And is the restaurant completely closed during that time? And where am I supposed to get pancakes in the meantime?
Well, I guess I'll start, and Bob, who I think's online, may want to jump in to add some of the restaurant talk. But our plans have been to try to move forward as kind of just as we go through the process here of all the approvals and grading permit with the idea of starting construction as soon as possible. A big variable in that is going to be Duke Energy. They have overhead transmission lines that run both alleys, so there's a lot of discussions there with their timing. So that could ultimately affect the start date on this. But right now we're moving ahead with things just as sequentially as we can get approvals. And then I guess, yeah, the restaurant would be torn down for construction. I guess if Bob's online, if he would like to add anything to that.
Go ahead, Bob.
Is we would relocate the business on a temporary basis.
Wait,
And
hold on, Bob, just a second. How did we? Oh.
Just, well,
Sorry, Mr. Costello, go ahead and try again.
the current plan would be to relocate the Village Deli in another location so we could continue to provide your delicious pancake spread and continue to employ the staff that we have that make our business work every day.
That's great to hear. Thank you. And maybe just from a architectural standpoint, is there any plan to sort of incorporate from the interior or any of the current part of this, or is this brand new design for a brand new restaurant that'll be something we've never experienced before?
Yeah, right now, we actually have not started any of the build-out plans on the restaurant on the first level. We've been focused on the exterior of the building. So I think as we'd move forward, I think there'd be some try to connect with what's there. Of course, the new design kind of has that feel of an open interior to exterior type feel, so there would be a little bit of a different feel to some of it, but yeah, we really have not got into the details of the build out yet.
All right, thanks. Any other questions from commissioners? All right, then we'll go to public comment on SP 2522. Again, if you're here in the chambers, just step right up to the podium and state your name. If you are joining us online and would like to make comment, just look for that reactions button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and click on raise hand, or alternatively send a chat message to myself or to Jackie Scanlon, and we'll try to recognize you in the order that you have raised your hand.
I don't see anything.
Not seeing any public comment here in the chambers. Anything online? I'm not seeing anything. Okay, last call for public comment on SP 2522. All right. Seeing none, then we are back to the commission for any final comments or for a motion on SP 2522. We'll start with Commissioner St. John.
I really like this project. I think it looks great. It's going to be really nice for Kirkwood. Not that what's there now isn't nice as well, but it's a different kind of nice. So I'm really pleased to see this, and the whole look of especially the Kirkwood-facing facade with the open patio on the top and the pergola above it, it just is going to be a really nice add for Kirkwood. So thank you on the design for that, and to Mr. Costello for pushing this project forward. And I'm ready to make a motion, but I want to give other people a chance to speak, so I'll wait.
All right, any other comments from commissioners? Shall we just come right back to Commissioner St. John for the motion?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. I would like to move approval of SP.
Are you unmuted?
They said they can't hear you.
Yes. Huh. No, I think I am.
Okay.
Is my...
Mr. Askins, can you hear Karin when she's speaking? Will you go ahead, Karin?
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, Dave, can you hear Karin? Okay, thank you.
I'm back. Okay. I would like to move approval of SP-25-22, a positive recommendation with the 9 conditions as presented by staff.
So you're moving that we adopt the proposed findings and approve SP 2522 with the 9 conditions in the packet. All right, very good. We have a motion and a second. Any final comments before we call the roll? Looks like maybe? Commissioner Seaborn?
Yeah, I think just to clarify, it was 8 conditions in the packet, but the staff added the 9th.
Yes, thank you. So then just to clarify the motion is to adopt the proposed findings and approve SB 2522 with the 9 conditions that are shown on the screen, not in the packet. There were only 8 that were included in the packet, correct?
Yes, the 9 conditions that we see on the screen.
Yes, okay. And Commissioner Cockrum, your second stands?
Yes.
All right, very good, thank you. I think we are ready to call the roll.
Okay. Burrell?
Yes.
Cockrum?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Whistler?
Yes.
Ballard?
Yes.
Seaboard?
Yes.
St. John?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that motion passes 7-0. Thank you. We are now on to our final petition of the evening. Bear with me one moment. This is petition DP 27-22. The petitioner is the Redevelopment Commission of the City of Bloomington. And before we get to that, we have a couple of commissioners who I think would like to make a statement. So Commissioner St. John, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I will step out from this as I have a conflict of interest with this particular petition.
All right. Thank you. And Commissioner Cockrum.
Yes, I also need to step out as well, as I also have a conflict on this particular petition.
All right, thank you. So we have 2 commissioners who are recusing themselves from this discussion, meaning that we only have 5 commissioners remaining. As you may recall, our rules are that we need a majority of the commission to take any action, not just a majority of those present, but a majority of the total voting members, which means 5 out of 9, which means anything we do on this one is going to have to be unanimous from the remaining 5 commissioners here. So we will move forward with the hopes that we can achieve that, but just be aware that that's what it's going to take. So with that, I'm not sure. Jackie Scanlon, are you the case manager on this one? All right, well, Jackie, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm unmuted, just want to check here. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Okay, as Commissioner Whistler said, this is DP 2722, and this is a petition by the Bloomington Redevelopment Commission for a primary plat. The location of the plat is south of 2nd Street, north of 1st Street, east of Rogers and west of Morton Street. You have seen a petition very similar to this in recent months, but that petition has been changed some by the parties involved, including the city and the Common Council, the administration of the city and the Common Council. When the right-of-way vacation request went to Common Council, discussions continued. There has been additional land acquisition and a new primary plat was needed. So you can see the location here that I described. The property is slightly over 9 acres, and the petitioner is requesting primary plat approval to plat 19 lots and new right-of-ways as well. They are also requesting waivers related to streets and right-of-way requirements of the UDO and a waiver of second hearing. So here's an aerial of the existing area. It is currently zoned mixed-use medium scale as well as mixed-use neighborhood scale. Comprehensive plan designation is mixed urban residential, and it is particularly in the West 2nd Street, former Bloomington Hospital focus area. And as you can see, the site currently contains existing buildings and surface parking. In the southwest corner is the location of Centerstone in one large building and one small building, and those are to remain. So here is a copy of the plat, and I will go over that in a little bit more detail. You can see here, I've numbered the 19 lots that are being proposed. As I mentioned earlier, the northern boundary is West 2nd Street, the eastern boundary is South Morton, West 1st Street on the south, and South Rogers Street to the west. And so you can see it's basically split into 4 quadrants. And then there are 3 parcels in the southeast corner of this quadrant that aren't included in the plat. So those are grayed out down here next to not included in the green new lots that are outlined. So in this plat, as similar to the one you saw previously, these 2 green lots, Lot 2 and Lot 6, are for stormwater management for the entirety of the area, as well as public park space. So those have been programmed for both of those purposes and aren't anticipated to be sold for private development. The lots 3 and 4 are currently planned for continued use by Centerstone. And so that is some redesign of the existing lots in that area. And then the remainder of the lots, 5 in the northwest quadrant, 4 in the northeast quadrant, and then 6 in the southeast quadrant are all intended for some sort of redevelopment. So additionally with this project, we would be getting new right-of-way. You can see here the new east-west connection, which would be West University Street, roughly in the same line in the city of where University is on the east side of town, as well as the continuation of South Madison Street that is present north of this project. And so those rights-of-way would be our typical road widths and are planned as new right-of-way for roads, as well as 3 east-west alleys that you can see here marked in yellow. So east-west alley in the northwest quadrant, and east-west alley in the northeast quadrant, and again an east-west alley in the southeast quadrant. So those providing opportunity for rear-loaded development when possible. The new University Street right-of-way will have upgraded pedestrian amenities as well as South Madison, so kind of keeping those potential vehicular entrances, having them have the possibility of being on the back of these lots to develop down here is part of the reason to propose those alleys. So the right-of-way, there was a right-of-way vacation that was already done by Common Council, so there were existing alleys in this area that have been vacated. So that was an issue you heard of last time that was going to need to be done, and that has since been done. The petitioners do need a waiver of the subdivision rules in this case. That is because there is not enough room along South Rogers Street to dedicate the appropriate amount of right-of-way. So you can kind of see that illustrated here. Here on the north end, north of New University, you can see this strip here, that's right-of-way dedication. And as we go further down on the plat, it becomes almost indistinguishable from the property line at this scale because there is not enough room to dedicate the appropriate amount of right-of-way required by the transportation plan. That is because of the existing Centerstone buildings that are going to remain. So there is, this is just an estimate from the Elevate website, so not exact, but just under 50 feet of right-of-way here. And the UDO calls for much more right-of-way dedication on this side of the road where the subdivision is taking place that just is not possible because of the existence of these buildings. So the petitioner and engineering staff have worked with planning and transportation staff to get an idea of how much right-of-way, the maximum amount of right-of-way that can be dedicated, and then how much of the improvements that the transportation plan is after can be shown in these areas or realistically built. So these are just concepts that have gone through discussion between engineering and planning staff. This on the left is the south side of University, and the main takeaway here is that even though there's not enough right-of-way, there will be enough space for the three types of areas that the transportation plan wants. So sidewalk for pedestrians, green space for separation, and then the pink is a bike facility. So on the south side, south of University Street, it will look one way, and then once we get north of University over here on the right, where there's more right-of-way, that design may change slightly. But all three should be able to be incorporated on the entirety of Rogers, just possibly not to the widths initially desired by the transportation plan that are called for in the subdivision control portion of the UDO. So petitioner needs a waiver from those streets and right-of-way requirements. But we wanted to show you that they are demonstrating that they are trying to meet the spirit of what those requirements are after, even though it's physically impossible to include the width that's required. So in conclusion, the proposed primary plat does meet all of the requirements of the UDO with the exception of the waiver I've just described. And this kind of subdivision after the right-of-way vacation would be kind of the first big step of the redevelopment of the Bloomington Hospital site, and would be providing, improved public amenities and public ways in this area east of the old hospital. So the Planning and Transportation Department recommends that the Plan Commission adopt the proposed findings, approve the primary plat of DP 2722 with the associated waiver request, and waive the second hearing with the following conditions. 1, allowing secondary plat approval to be delegated to staff. 2, that a utility plan must be approved by the City of Bloomington Utilities Department. And that 3, the petitioner will continue to work with the department in order to determine the final right-of-way improvement design for South Rogers Street. I can answer any questions.
Thank you. I assume in this case you are representing the petitioner, or is there someone else?
I am
from the
not.
petitioner?
There is a member of the engineering staff here who will.
Ah, great. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Patrick Durgas, City Engineering. Just here for any questions. Thank you, Jackie, for your presentation. And we also have Matthew Wallace with Shrewsbury, the consultant for the project, also on Zoom for any questions.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Smith.
Troublemaker all the time. Ms. Scanlon, is this, there were concerns by Common Council about the way the alleys were and the way that building mass. Is the plat, did the plat respond, since I slept since then, did the plat respond to those things? And I ask that because those folks are still on the council, and they'll, be thinking about it. And I know it's kind of different than the Plan Commission, but may I ask that question?
Yes. So I would say yes. This redesign is responsive to those concerns. So especially, I would say the inclusion of alleys at all, that wasn't something that was in the previous plat that you all saw. Additionally, especially in this southeastern quadrant, where the lots are what you would consider kind of more traditional urban, long, thin lots, alley loaded, so that I think one of the ideas or concerns from Common Council and some in the administration was people being able to develop those separately, kind of in a more traditional way. And so having these lot sizes allows for that to be a possibility if that is where kind of the market takes this area, as well as the lots in the two northern quadrants are also smaller and split up in a way that would allow that there as well.
Thank you very much. It did appear that way, but I wanted to make sure I asked.
Great, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? No. All right. We will go then to public comment on DP 27-22. There's literally no one left in the chamber, so I think we're only looking to online comment here. If you are online and would like to make comment, click on that reactions button and click on raise hand, or send a chat message to Ms. Scanlon, and we will recognize you for up to 5 minutes of comment.
Zoom.
All right, last call for public comment. All right, there's no public comment. We are back to the commission for any final comments or for a motion. Jackie, would you mind putting the staff recommendation back up on the screen to aid us here? All right. So the staff recommendation is that we adopt the proposed findings, approve the primary plat of DP 2722 with the associated waiver, and waive the second hearing with 3 conditions that are listed there on the screen. Can we have a motion to that effect?
I will submit a motion to approve DP 2722 with the 3 conditions.
And with the associated waiver, and to waive the second hearing?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
All right. Any final discussion before we call the roll? All right. Let's call the roll.
Okay. Ballard?
Yes.
Burrell?
Yes.
Seaboard?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
And Whistler?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. That motion passes 5-0. And that is our final agenda item for this evening. So unless there are any other announcements or motions from commissioners, I believe Commissioner Burrell, go ahead.
Just a question.
Yep.
There's someone writing, Cat, I guess, says there's tons of public comment. You just might not see it here at this time. She, I think, keeps writing. Is it public? Sorry, what was your question again, on the chat, on Zoom.
Yeah, I saw, yes, I
Yeah,
think
there's
she was
somebody
just,
identifying themselves as Cat.
right, so I think she's just using the opportunity to have chat on Zoom to just share something with this group. She did not indicate that she wanted to speak during any of the public comment times. But thank you for.
Yeah, I just didn't know how to handle this.
Sure, yeah.
Is this a public comment or not? Or is it just that?
No, this board, as you'll recall, doesn't take public comment in general. We only take public comment on specific petitions, so you can only public comment directly to a petition when that time is offered.
I see. So Kat, if you could just confirm for us, you're not wishing to make public comment at this time? I want to make sure we didn't miss anybody who was trying to speak.
Oh,
All right.
hold on. You can go ahead and respond to his question, I think. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. And Indiana Council City, Monroe County. I was born and raised here. My name is Catherine Seltz. I live and work downtown Bloomington. I've lived all over the country, all over the world, and I'm so happy to be part of this community. I am so incredibly amazed by all the work you do. I did graduate from the City of Bloomington Academy of all the good stuff a couple years ago. I went through all the things that I think we all tell our community members to do, to share, work hard, raise your kids. You know, I just want to say how thankful I am for this opportunity. And I don't think it's over. These opportunities here are just the beginning. I live and work downtown, like I said earlier, and every time I see a petition, I try to engage with that. So I don't know, I just want to say at the end of the day, I'm so grateful and thankful for all of the work you guys do. And I want to be more part of the community. And anyway, there's tons of public commentary. We just don't hear it all the time. And this engagement opportunity is part of that. So that's all I want to say, and thank you for letting me be part of that.
Oh, thank you so much. Miss any comments specifically on the agenda items tonight, but thank you for raising that point. If there are no other motions or announcements, then, oh, okay, yeah. Well, Commissioner Cockrum, if you're still listening, we have your phone. All right. With that, thank you all for your patience and bearing with us tonight as we've had some technical challenges. I think we made it through. Please let us know if we missed anything, but thank you all again. And with that, we are adjourned. We'll see you in August.